Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Sanchez. Today we are going to practice dividing with decimals. Yesterday was multiplying with decimals, so dividing with decimals today. Now, what I have written for you first are three problems that look very similar to each other. They all have the same numbers, but the decimal's in the different spot. So I wanted to show you when a problem looks like this, you could go straight into division. Now you focus on the value that's on the outside, the divisor. So if that number is a whole number, you can go straight into division. Even if the number on the inside, the dividend, has a decimal, you still can go straight into division. This decimal would just shoot straight up and it's ready to divide already. So this is the one that we would have to move and make it into a whole number. So in order to divide on this one, this value right here, the divisor, has to be a whole number. And in order to make it a whole number, we move the decimal over one time to the right. And as soon as you move the decimal here, you have to move the decimal the same amount of spaces in the dividend. So you're going to move this one space over. And if there's a gap there, you put a 0, and this decimal would just shoot straight up. That's its home. So make sure that the number on the outside, which is the divisor, that needs to be a whole number. So in your notes, if the divisor is a decimal, then move the decimal to the right to make it a whole number. Then move the decimal the same amount of spaces in the number on the inside is called the dividend. And if you want to put in parentheses inside value, or maybe even put a little, like a call out box, like one of these, you could do that and put it right here, inside value. Place the decimal right here like I did here. You're going to place your decimal, shoot it straight up into the quotient. Directly above the decimal in the dividend. You divide like normal. If there is a what, place a what in the next place value. So if there is a space or a gap, place a 0 in the next place value and continue to divide until you get a 0 as a remainder. Okay, all right, so starting with the first problem, we have 48.8 or 48 8/10 divided by 8. So remember, you focus on the value outside, which is the divisor. Is this a whole number? Yes. Do you need to move the decimal? No, you do not. Nope. Then you go straight into division. So 8 into 48, that would be 6 times. This decimal shoots straight up. You have nothing left over here, so I'm going to put a 0 and drop down my 8. 8 can go into 8 one time, and no remainder. So the answer would be 6.1 or 6 1/10. Okay. Okay, now example number 2. Now we are dividing a decimal by a decimal. So example 2 is 15.12 or 15 12/100 divided by 2.4. So remember, you focus on the value outside, which is the divisor. This needs to be a whole number. So since it's not, bump that decimal one time to the right, and whatever you do to the number on the outside, you must do to the number on the inside. So this decimal needs to be bumped over. And so now the new home of the decimal is between the 1 and the 2. So I'm just going to rewrite it 24 into, now the value is 151.2. And now it's ready to divide. So 24 cannot go into 15, but it can go into 151. So I'm going to think of 24, it's like a quarter. How many quarters can go into, think of it as like $1.50. Well, I know 4 quarters are in $1, and then 2 more quarters would be 50 cents. So I'm going to try 25 times 6. 5 times 6 is 30. Oh, sorry, it should be 24. So 24. So 4 times 6 is 24. And then 6 times 2 is 12, plus 2 is 14. So it's not going to be able to go in one more time. So 24 can go into 151 6 times. Subtract your 144. Have this decimal come up and do some subtracting. So this would become a 4. That would become an 11. So 11 minus 4 is 7. Now drop down your 2. 24. How many 24s can go into 72? Okay, I'm thinking 3. So 24 times 3, 4 times 3 is 12. Carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Awesome. So now you put your 3 minus your 72. So here's our value. That's our answer. 6.3, or 6 3/10. So do we need to move the decimal? Yes, we have to. We're dividing by a decimal. How many times did we have to move that? We only moved it once. One time. You can do one time like that. And then place your quotient here, and our quotient was 6 3/10. Example 3 is 3 divided by 8. Do you think we need to move the decimal? Is 8 a whole number? Yes, it is. So we do not need to move it. And you can go straight into division. So 8 cannot go into 3. So you put your 0 on top. Now you add a decimal, shoot it up, and then you just continue to add zeros until you have no remainder, or you stop at the thousandths place, which is 3 places behind the decimal. So now 8 into 30 would be 3. 8 times 3 is 24. 30 minus 24 is 6. Grab one more 0. 8 into 60, 7 times, which would be 56. 60 minus 56, you'd have 4 left over. Drop your 0, and then 8 into 40 would be 5 times. So now I already have a remainder, and it went to the thousandths. So place your quotient, 0.375 thousandths. And now you have 3 to do on your own. Go ahead and push pause, try those 3, and then check your work. All right, so let's go ahead and check your work. On the first problem, when I did my math, I had to move my decimal over twice on the outside, the number on the outside, which is the divisor, and I had to do the same thing to the dividend. So now my problem is really 40 divided by 5. Well, 40 divided by 5 ends up being 8, or 8.0. On the second one, you do not need to move the decimal. And it ends up being 2 5/10. And then the very last one, you do need to move the decimal one value over to the right, and you have to do the same thing to the inside. So it ends up being 85 divided by 5, and the answer would be a whole number, which is 17. I hope you guys found this concept easy. Make sure that you are counting the values on the outside, starting there, making sure the value on the outside is a whole number. Okay, that's what's the most important when you're dividing with decimals. You have a very short assignment in your folder today, so make sure you go to the Thursday folder and complete your assignment on dividing decimals.